It's Monday, December 18, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. A seventh man has been charged in connection with the Kadooment Day shooting, in which 20-year-old Tyree Rock was killed and several other persons were wounded. He is 29-year-old Damian Omar Pinder of 4th Avenue Pickwick Gap and Chase Gap, Halls Road, St. Michael. Pinder is charged with 23 counts of endangering life and 1 count of violent disorder. He is expected to appear in the District A Magistrates Court later today. Investigations continue into the unnatural death of Tyrone McDonald Babb. The 52-year-old of Goodland Main Road, St. Michael, died yesterday morning at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Police say Babb sustained injuries to his head during an altercation with another man in his community. A man is currently assisting police with that investigation. In other news this Monday, it cannot be business as usual if Barbados is to effectively address its economic challenges. In fact, Director of the Research and Planning Unit in the Ministry of Finance, Patrick McCaskey, says there needs to be a change in mindset within society to successfully turn things around. And he believes that change should begin by reforming both the private and public sectors.
Barbados continues to boast of an extraordinary high level of political stability. It is clearly evident, therefore, that successive economic growth and development, along with assistance from development partners over the years, have been a resource contributor to the building of the Barbadian society and environment, which is still a highly preferred domicile to live, work, and invest. However, our society must now reform to be flexible and more agile. Barbadians must recognize that it cannot be business as usual. Their population must undergo a mindset change and work towards the reform of the public and private sector institutions if we are to successfully arrest the macroeconomic and structural challenges currently faced.
Major transformation is on the cards for the city of Bridgetown if the United Progressive Party is elected to office in the next general election. That promise from party leader Lynette Eastman, who charges that the country's capital has been neglected for far too long. She made the comments at a political meeting last night at Greenfield, St. Michael.
People believe that they can simply improve the outskirts of the city because on the edges you do see development. On the edges you see Kensington Oval. On the edges you see a boardwalk being built. On the edges you see a lift bridge. But within the city itself you do not see that development that is required. And while countries everywhere else wrap their city in a bow, they clean it, they develop attractions, they ensure that when tourists come that they spend their money in the city. What is the excuse for representative after representative not doing what they should do to ensure that the people in the city have jobs and that they can grow their businesses? There should be no unemployment within the city.
Eastman says special attention will be placed on diversifying the city.
And for many years within the city, we have Barbadians, we have Vincentians, we have Trinidadians, we have Jamaicans, we have St. Lucians, we have Indians, we have Syrians. And yet we have not set up the cultural spaces and the restaurants so that people can come into the city and eat a different type of meal every day. We have not done it. But they have done it in New York, and they have done it in London, and they do it so that when tourists come, they can have that experience and spend money within the communities. That is what we're talking about.
In sports, Barbados Pride took a 207-run victory over Trinidad and Tobago Red Force in the Regional 4-Day Championship yesterday. Left-arm spinner Jomal Warrican was the most impactful, finishing with match figures of 9-4-84 to earn the Player of the Match award. The Red Force, chasing 324 for victory, were bowled out for 116 just before tea on the final day of the 7th round match at the Brian Lara Cricket Ground in Trinidad. Now over at the Darren Sammy Cricket Ground in St. Lucia, the Windward Islands Volcanoes posted their first win of the championship. Resuming the final day, the Volcanoes needed 3 wickets for victory, with the visitors needing an improbable 197 runs. Volcanoes had dismissed Scorpions for 279 in the second innings. Now the championship will take a break for the holiday season and resume on January 4.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Be careful not to become distracted when laden down with bags, as this makes you an easy target. Ensure that your handbags or wallet is secure and keep your mobile phone out of sight. Resist the urge to broadcast that you are not going to be home. When the festivities are over, recycle your garbage and don't leave boxes in plain sight, for burglars will be on the lookout for top-of-the-range equipment worth breaking in for. Call 417-7233.
G4S, securing your world.
To regional news now, we head over to Bermuda, where the contentious 2017 Domestic Partnership Bill is one step closer to becoming law. The legislation, which seeks to replace same-sex marriages with domestic partnership, is currently under review by Governor John Rankin following last week's approval in the Senate. Jasmine Peterson of Bermuda Broadcasting spoke with Home Affairs Minister Walton Brown Jr. about the bill.
The bill brought international media coverage, sparking criticism from gay activist groups and the Bermuda Human Rights Commission.
The reality is that the vast majority of countries in the world do not have same-sex marriage, and so what you see in Bermuda is something that is not out of sync with the rest of the world. It's not the place that perhaps Bermuda needs to be in ideally, but we're not out of sync. And we have created a legal framework by which same-sex couples can be afforded or are afforded all the rights of a married heterosexual couple.
Do you anticipate any loss in revenue in terms of tourism?
I don't anticipate any significant impact. I think it is important for us to articulate clearly what has happened, why it has happened, and then focus on what we need to do to rebuild Bermuda as a tourist destination. Those issues are somewhat connected, but they are not intimately connected.
And on the international front, a power outage at the world's busiest airport left thousands of passengers stranded on Sunday. The power cut at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport also caused delays at security checkpoints and on runways. We get more in this CNN report.
There haven't been any situations of note, injury to anyone throughout the course of the power outage. But we've heard different versions of stories from passengers inside. There was one moment, a sense of real urgency in Terminal D earlier today when travelers could smell smoke, began to see it. One passenger told me it smelled like burnt rubber, like an electrical fire of some sort had taken place. All passengers were evacuated from that terminal, but that's the only moment of any urgency that we've experienced here. Otherwise, long lines of frustrated people, really concerned. And one of the biggest problems, Anna, has been the lack of communication, as people have questions about what will happen and very little understanding of what led to this and where to go from here.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website www.barbadostoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And don't forget, Mix 96.9 FM also has the very latest. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good morning.